Is Bryce Young better than Jalen Hurts? This was a debate. This was a debate going on X, and I need to hear everybody in the room's opinion.
I don't think,
and I almost don't even want to give mine, but I want to hear you first.
No, I don't think so at this point. I mean,
why?
Damn, can I talk? I mean, Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl champion. Like, so we can start there. I think that Bryce could potentially – Jalen Hurts has benefited from a lot of good receivers and a highly touted offensive line, and then just a hell of a GM who surrounds him with pieces on the offensive side and both on the defensive side. But all in all, like, I still don't think Bryce is a better quarterback than him. Not at this stage in his career. Now, I think that he could have the potential to be, but Jalen Hurts, like, he's just so much more dynamic with his legs. And I think that we've seen Bryce be able to
go slow.
Yeah, actually, thank you for saying that. Go slow. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is more dynamic than Bryce with his legs.
Well,
I'm not going to say
dynamic. That. Like, you're making it seem like Bryce
like
is not mobile
miles ahead.
Can I get finished with my fucking segment? Like, I was literally just about to say Jalen Hurts is dynamic with his legs, and we seen that Bryce has been able to do that same kind of thing over the past season or two. But I'm still giving Jalen Hurts an edge in the quarterback room. I think he's a better quarterback than Bryce at this stage in his career. Now, you can have your fucking segment and not try to cut me off. Because I know you probably feel different because he's been dicing y'all the fuck up for the last couple of years.
Or dicking them in the ass.
First of all,
however you want to view
it. Let's everybody go the fuck slow, right?
This nigga only threw for 2,900 yards last year.
Bryce or Jalen?
Jalen.
Yeah, because again, what I'm going to say right here.
Saquon was towing that hole. You're right.
Right. Bryce Young is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. I do agree with that. And I know we're going to judge him off of Super Bowls and wins and this, that, and the third. However, the rosters between the Eagles and the Panthers aren't even comparable from the previous two seasons. Howie Roseman has done a fucking phenomenal job of fielding that Eagles roster with some of the best players in the NFL. We just watched them go on one of the most dominant runs of all time. Like, that team legitimately didn't lose a step when they started Kenny Pickett in the final game of the season, and then they had to throw in the other kid, the rookie. Don't even remember the guy's name. But they all look the same in that offense because that offensive line is so elite, because you have two of the best receivers on the outside, and then you have the threat of the best running back in the NFL last season by far was Saquon Barkley, clearly the most dynamic runner of the football. So when you have that constant threat of a guy who's about to break the all-time rushing record in the backfield, running behind one of the most dominant offensive lines in the league, you're constantly finding mismatches on the outside for a guy like A.J. Brown, who is no fucking slouch, and
a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL.
And Devontae Smith, who is also no fucking slouch either. Like, yeah, and then you
top
have
30.
Dallas Goedert at tight end. Like, yeah, bro, I mean, it's a little bit – your job is a little bit easier than Bryce's job over the first 2 years of his career. Now, Jalen – again, we just seen the numbers. He's good with his legs. That's where you can be like, Jalen might be a bit of a difference maker. But like when if Jalen has to win the game off the strength of his arm, you take away the run game, you give him average receivers like majority of the other quarterbacks in the league, shit looks a lot different. In the seasons when Jalen hasn't had all that, he hasn't looked that fucking good, and that's why there was always debates on, is he good, is he not? Is he the guy for the job? They always had these questions. Now, he did show up big in the playoffs, and that's where I'll give Jalen credit. When push comes to shove, backs are against the wall. In the playoffs, he has showed up to this point in his career.
I think that another thing we need to do is be careful, because I think what's happening, and I think that people can be comparing the end of this season, what Bryce did, and saying like, oh, is he a better quarterback than Jalen? But if we want to be honest and take this shit all the way back, that nigga Bryce looked like dog shit his rookie year, and at the beginning of this past year, he looked like straight bullshit. And I don't think Jalen Hurts has looked like that at a point in his career where he looked that fucking bad to where he had to be benched, and Andy Dalton or whoever the backup was had to come in and play for a couple of games because he lost his confidence and he was damn near crying and all of that. We haven't seen that. So
yes, but we also have Jalen didn't come in as the starter. Jalen came in as a guy who was supposed to be a career backup because they had Carson Wentz at the time, who was supposed to be the future of the Eagles. And Carson Wentz had the fucking meltdown, and Jalen got to step in.
Well, cool. It
does matter because those are completely different scenarios. You got a guy who has all the pressure put on his shoulders from day one to carry a sorry ass team that everybody was gassing and saying we're just a quarterback. We're just a quarterback away. We're just a quarterback away. All you have to do is come in here and do a good job, and we'll be in the Super Bowl. That's what they were saying to this kid.
Okay, that's fine. Even though you can say all of that, go look at what the fuck happened. It doesn't matter. It matters what he put on tape, what he put on film. If you're telling me right now you're watching the film, I'm not saying that Bryce Young is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. Like, you can have all of these other factors into it. Jalen Hurts can't help that his GM is fucking a damn near godsend when it comes to providing him talent. He can't. Absolutely. He just goes out there and fucking produces. He does what he has to do with the team that's put around him. And if
does that make him a better quarterback?
No, I told you. I said before. I just got into all of that. I named out all of this shit and said why he's a better quarterback. Yes, I still think he's a better quarterback than Bryce Young.
I think Bryce throws the ball better. I think he's more accurate than Jalen. I think the only edge that Jalen has is the fact that he is mobile. Like, he's a bit more mobile, and he's stocky. Like, Jalen is a big dude. Like, he's hard to bring down when he gets into open field, and Bryce just doesn't have that same advantage.
I haven't seen enough.
Yeah, I don't know, bro, to be honest. This was actually very, very intriguing to me, seeing all the different opinions as far as it pertains to Twitter and everything like that, because, you know, that's where we get a lot of these topics. As y'all know, at this point, I mean, that's just what we do. We are the people. We are the culture. I don't know. It's very, very interesting to me. Yes, I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Jalen Hurts is a winner. Jalen Hurts is a winner. He's been to multiple Super Bowls. He went toe-to-toe with Pat the first time around. And really, you can make an argument that they should have won that shit. There was a questionable call or lack thereof at the end of that Super Bowl. And then, you know, the following one where they matched up against each other, Jalen dogged the nigga. Dog walked him real bad. So, yes, he's a winner. I will give him that. And I think that I will agree with you, Terrence, and you saying that we are very, very jaded because not even 365 days ago, the nigga Bryce did get benched. And a lot of us, and I say us because I think that everybody at one point or another on this cast agreed that Bryce Young time as a Carolina Panther had came to an end.
Yeah.
After a year and some change.
And I'm a Bryce stan, and I'm saying this.
So I will add that for context. But what do you always talk about? You always talk about updating your resume. And the last time we seen the Reaper touch that fucking field, he went for 5 of them bitches. Right? Right or wrong? Yeah. And he was playing the best football of his career. If we take Alabama, Carolina, wherever, fucking where he went out in Cali, best football of his career, right or wrong.
Yeah.
Pure talent at the quarterback position, I think Bryce is better than Jalen Hurts. That's just me personally.
And do we take stats into account to this? Because I love stats.
You can, yes, but it's going to be very, very difficult to do so because of the point that he made. It's easy to run up stats when you're distributing the football to fucking A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert.
But when we go back and watch the
Barkley.
film, did we see like a lot of those throws that Bryce was making was fucking errant throws. Like, they were god awful. Like, and you slandered him for it. You slandered him for it. A lot of them decisions that he was making was decisions that he didn't even have to make. It's just because he was in his fucking head.
Most dropped air yards on target throws this season. Bryce Young was number 1 with 210. So you could say they were errant throws, but if niggas is getting dimed up, like we saw, you love ridiculing and slandering Excel's name.
What I was specifically referring to was Jalen Hurts, I would say more so his rookie year in the league, because his first year, I don't know if he really played that much, versus what Bryce did his rookie year in the league.
But have we not come to the conclusion on this podcast over the past year and a half to 2 years that his rookie season, I've even had to come on this podcast multiple times and damn near get on my hands and knees and beg for an apology, simply based on the fact that we talked about on multiple occasions how fucked off the situation was his rookie year. He had absolutely no time to throw. We know that. He was throwing to James, Tavian, and fucking Yak as his receivers.
What I'll say, none of that situation had anything to do when we sat there at that Atlanta game and he threw 3 fucking picks to fucking Jesse Bates.
Nigga, that was his NFL debut.
He was ass. And then he came back in the Minnesota game where he threw a pick 6 or something like that. I damn near more of the story. He was giving that hoe up, and a lot of the times it was like, okay.
So, go ahead.
Oh, that Minnesota game, he was getting they were fucking.
A lot of the times he was just giving that shit up, and it was a lot of it was just like, okay, like you're just not reading the field correctly.
Jalen Hurts' first year starting was 2020. He had 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Yeah, that's why I said I had to go look at that because I don't know if
very mediocre.
He played like 8 games. Like, that's half a season.
That's very mediocre.
Which is, yeah, I mean, and then the following season followed it up with 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
Listen, bro, like, I don't even think that we have to, like, go on this long rant and discussion. But, like, at the end of the day, bro, life is a lot easier when you're throwing at AJ, Devontae, and Dallas. And then this season, like Tavian said, one of the best seasons that we've ever seen put together by an NFL team in totality. You had the best running back, arguably one of the greatest running backs of all time. And if you don't even want to go that far, one of the greatest seasons by a running back of all time beside you. So it's very, very, very fucking easy. Because I'm not going to lie to you. Can we do this?
Hold on.
Can we
when
do
you
this?
mentioned that season, that rookie season, that's how I knew it was bullshit and why I wasn't referring to that because he only played 4 games.
Can we do
He only started 4 games that season. So that's why I immediately went to the next one because the context of just looking at those stats are bullshit.
Can we do something?
What?
If you send Jalen Hurts to Charlotte and you send BY to Philly, what do you think happens? How many games did they lose this year? Philly? 2? 3? They might not lose a fucking game.
So fast forward and look at this season, and you start to look at the wide receivers in both rooms, and y'all been chatting about y'all wide receiver room. What does Bryce do with this wide receiver room that y'all have? And I don't necessarily know which running backs y'all have, but
Chuba and Rico, 1,000-yard rushers.
Okay.
So with that, you start to look at not necessarily comparable, but you got a good blank slate to work with.
I think that the wins probably won't. Actually, I'm not even going to say probably. The wins won't align this year for Carolina like it did for Philly last year. Mm-hmm. But you're going to see a very, 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 very similar production from Bryce Young that you saw from Jalen last year.
And then
he's going to manage the game very, very well. He's going to distribute the football very, very well. Because, I mean, we talk about that wide receiver room. There's still a lot of question marks there. And on top of that, this offense is going to be extremely run heavy. Like, that's something that we haven't done a good enough job on this podcast with, is talking about the other side of things because we've been so hyper-focused on the wide receiver room. But this offense is still going to be run heavy. You're coming off of the best season that Chuba Hubbard has ever had. And to be honest, he's entering into his athletic prime this season, and this is year 5 for him. After coming off a bag, and the only thing he has done is work harder. And then to go along with that, you added another 1,000-yard receiver. You didn't lose shit on the offensive line. You kept actually 8 of the offensive linemen you had last year. 3 of those guys, maybe even 4, being interchangeable at any position. Mm-hmm. So injury doesn't matter. This offense is going to be extremely run-heavy still. But I believe you're going to see very, very similar production from Bryce Young this year that you saw from Jalen Hurts last year.
So do you want Bryce to be a playmaker, or do you want him to be a game manager? And
I want Bryce to win football games.
So, I mean, but to break him down into which category you want him to play in.
Well, what is Jalen Hurts?
That's the question. That was going to be my follow-up question. Because, like, you can have that argument.
He's a game manager, in my opinion. Right, because that's where we come. That's where we go all the way back to the conversation Cam had. You know, when niggas controversial conversation he had about Brock Purdy and a couple of the other guys. Yeah, I think that Bryce Young falls into that game manager construct right now, but I believe that he has the ability to be a game changer. And I don't 100% know if Jalen Hurts has that ability. There are a lot of fucking throws. Listen, there were a lot of games that the Carolina Panthers lost last year that we shouldn't have lost. That's number one. Number two, there were a lot of games that we stayed close in because Bryce Young let his fucking cock drop at huge moments. I would just challenge you to go back all the way to week 10 or 11 when we were in Germany against the Giants, and our backs were against the wall. We played a great game. Our back was against the wall. I think it was like fucking 4th and 12. And the nigga lets his cock drop for like a 25-yard bomb on a fucking go route. So, like, I believe that Bryce Young does have the ability to be a game changer. Now, a game changer, like, there's a lot of things that go into being a game changer.
Well, you can just look at plays like the play against Philly when they had him dead to rights
Dead
in the
to
back
rights
of
in
the end zone.
That's
and he
a
gets
game
out of that's
changer play.
game-changing type of plays.
1,000%.
Jalen Hurts, like, he's 100% a game manager because if you look at the way they played last season and their scheme and everything like that, like, bro, he's throwing to guys that are legitimately wide open. And then everybody's going to be like, oh, but in the Super Bowl, he dropped a dime. Bro, like, they were up by like 30 at that point in the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't as much pressure on that type of throw as if they were down or that was going to take the lead. Like, that was like the nail in the coffin.
So
though.
are
like,
we taking that away from them?
No,
No,
bro,
so why are we
I'm not
even
taking
talking
that
about
away
it?
from them. I'm just saying, like, that's going to be the one example that they use. But if you really go back and break down Philly's film and look at them throughout the year, brother, like, these guys are running wide open because Kellen Moore schemed up a hell of a game plan for them.
Can I ask you a question?
What?
No, I'm being dead ass serious. What does Jalen Hurts undoubtedly do better than Bryce Young to say that he's a better quarterback than him overall? For you to say that he's a better, because I'm not to a point where I want to just jump out the window and you know that this is a lot of growth for me, because you know I had Bryce Young hanging from the fucking cross beside Jesus Christ himself at the beginning of last year, because you know I was done with him. So this is a lot of growth for me. This is what I'll say. I'm not ready to jump to the conclusion and say that Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than him. Like, cool, if we want to look at, it's the same thing when we talk about the Jordan and LeBron conversation, right? And niggas are going to slander us for this because we know we got a lot of old heads that watch this show. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get slandered for this. But me and you both agree that LeBron is a much better player than Jordan. But if you look at the accolades, then it's not even fucking close, because Bron done got his boot smoked 6 times. He doesn't have an NBA defensive player. So a lot of shit on Jordan's belt that Bron don't got. But we both agree that when it's time to make money, we much rather have LeBron in them situations because we done seen the nigga fucking do it.
And I think
he's a far better player. So, yes, the accolades are great. Yes, he's a winner. Yes, he's been to multiple Super Bowls. Yes, he has a ring. But if you take all of that shit away and you take the names off the fucking jerseys and you say which one of these niggas is better, I'm just not jumping out of the window and saying it's Jalen Hurts just because he got a Super Bowl ring.
And you can even just do the example of, like, bro, if I throw out some names to you and I ask you if they're better than Bryce Young, there's going to be no hesitation, right? If I say, is Pat Mahomes better than Bryce Young? Is Josh Allen better than Bryce Young? Is Lamar Jackson better than Bryce Young? Is Joe Burrow better than Bryce Young, right? If I throw all these names out, no question. But then I get the niggas like Jalen Hurts. And then we open room for debate.
So what's your point?
That is my whole point. Is like the fact that you have a Super Bowl under your belt, you have 2 trips to the Super Bowl under your belt, and there's still doubt in the fact of if you're truly a solid quarterback or not. There's still not a solid quarterback. There's still doubt
He's a solid quarterback.
if you're an elite quarterback or not. There's
I don't
still
think
doubt.
I don't think that he's an elite quarterback.
I don't think Bryce is an elite quarterback.
But I think Bryce has much more potential to be elite than Jalen Hurts does.
So look, go back to my question.
So we're talking about potential, though. It's like,
go back to my question. What does Jalen Hurts do better than Bryce Young?
I think that he just manages the game better. He commands his team better, and overall, like, in those situations, he just wins games. Like,
but nothing that you just said was something that translates directly to the field.
Yeah,
everything that you just said was an intangible.
Okay,
you didn't say anything from a talent standpoint.
But I don't necessarily
arm talent.
I don't necessarily think that Bryce's arm talent is better than Jalen Hurts either. I just don't. And I also don't. I'm also under the belief that you also haven't watched Jalen Hurts as close as you watched Bryce Young. So it's easier.
I would definitely.
Yeah, so
agree with
it's
that statement.
easier.
I have.
It's easier to just like say that because we're steady analyzing Bryce's film a lot more than we are Jalen Hurts, because this is what our podcast is on. This is what our team is on.
Oh my God. God, he's about to get the sucking.
Probably. But I am going to preface the question. I hope he answers. Actually, I hope he answers. Yeah. Fuck me. He's not going to answer. Fuck. I got to try again. I'm not going to lie. This is literally like this is a conversation that we can't. Because though he's going to get the suck in, like, he's going to be objective as well. And if no, he will. He will.
I just know if he does pick up, Dak is somehow going to catch us stray.
Damn. Come on, Kenny.
Your call has been...
Okay, it's fucked. Yeah, I just don't know, bro. I just don't know if I'm jumping. But that was a very, very interesting conversation.
Being a objective third party, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, because you didn't get the mic, I don't think. Not that much. I want to know what your thoughts are and make your case. The fact that you have to study that long makes me believe that it's a lot closer than niggas are trying to make it seem.
I'm gonna give Jalen the edge.
Okay, why?
To me, he just looks like the better quarterback. But again, you always have to analyze the weapons that they have, the team, the schemes, whatever it may be. But to me, viewing as a casual, Jalen looks like a better quarterback. And I say that in the win production, you're going to look at his receivers, how he spreads the ball around. I mean, he has great guys to be able to throw to. So, I mean, kind of get the edge. But, again, that's why I asked the question earlier as far as with Bryce and the wide receiver room that y'all have coming into this year. What does he then look like? And does that gap start to close, and does he start to compete more in this conversation?
I think that if the gap does start to close, I believe it does start to close. And I believe if that is the case, I think that speaks more to Bryce. To do it with an unproven rookie wide receiver, a nigga that has a fucking drop problem, and a bitch that's 37 years old, I'm going to commend you, and I'm going to give you a bit more respect over a nigga that is doing it with two niggas in their prime, one nigga that's top 10, one nigga that's top 30, and a tight end that's top 10.
Well, we can cross that bridge when it gets there then, because if it doesn't mean anything if you still only go out and win 5 ball games.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, that's why I said right now, regardless of what y'all are saying, right now, I just think that Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Bryce Young. Not saying that Bryce doesn't have the potential to be a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, but I just think right now, Jalen Hurts is the better quarterback.
Bryce has the tools, but what I've been hollering about since y'all got him was, well, maybe not since y'all got him, but the following year after we saw his rookie season is, can he be productive throughout all 17?
Yeah.
That's the question.
And that's what I think. That's why I said to begin the conversation, I think people are trying to just put those last couple games in a box and like, here you go. But also we got to take into account, like, at that point, you really had nothing to play for. I mean, you really didn't.
I don't think I'm going that far.
Yeah,
he played the last 10 games, so that means that it was week 7 when he came back, or week 8 when he came back. Nigga, you still have a lot to play for. You still have a lot to play for at week 8. The shit is still very, very much wide open. I can't jump out the window and say that.
I would have to go check and look. But
I'm telling you, you don't have to go check and look. So week 8 or week 9 at the very latest, if he played 10 games, he played the last 10 games. That's the box that you're saying that we're presenting this information. He played the last 10 games. That means at the very least there was 8 games previously played or 7 games previously played. And we had a bye week. So we were like I said, we were week 8 or 9, somewhere in that range. There's a lot to play for. There's a lot to play for. And he had you in the Tampa Bay game when Chuba fumbled. He had you in the Philly game when XL dicked the shit off. What else? He won the Atlanta game to end the season off. He was in the Cincinnati game before niggas fucked off. He was in the Kansas City game before niggas didn't tackle Pat Mahomes. So, yeah, and not to mention, if we look at that Kansas City game, he walked you down the fucking field and executed the 2-point conversion. So, yeah, I'm just not going to jump out the window and say he wasn't playing for anything. And I think, to be quite frank, he didn't do anything really in particular himself to lose you those ball games. Yeah, no, you were just rolling out the worst defense in history.
Well, Well, either way, back to my original point, you putting all of those games in one fucking box and pushing it to the middle of the table, and it's like, all right, take his best last 5, 6, 7 games and be like, okay, is this better than Jalen Hurts? When at the same time, you're not looking at the overall picture. Like, that's just what it is.
Just looking at last season, both quarterbacks had a couple of those something to prove moments. And when you get those, you got to look at how they're responding to it. Did you stand up or did you not?
But if my damn running back is fumbling the fucking ball in overtime, if my cornerbacks aren't making plays on the outside with a minute and a half left, if I throw a fucking 37 air bomb to a nigga that's supposed to be a first round overall pick and he fucking ejaculates in his fucking hands and drops the bitch,
he was a rookie.
That fucking on me?
He was a rookie, but
I mean, you defending him.
He was a rookie.
You stay on here defending him. So, I mean.
He was a rookie on that bomb.
Nigga, I don't give a Carter.
Listen,
bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like I get up here defending XL a lot.
Don't
nigga.
play both
that
sides of the
is,
fence.
That shit. It's not playing. It's not playing both sides of the fence. I just don't like the way that niggas have fucking turned on him. That doesn't mean that last year he wasn't cocking off. And as a quarterback, nigga, I can't do nothing but put my team in position to win. And in that drive, XL made a huge reception that had Bryce not pulled a Houdini, it wouldn't even have had the opportunity to do so. But in that same drive, he also cocked off 2 big plays. 2 very, very big plays. And if you go back to that drive, the nigga drops the bitch on 3rd down, I believe it was. And on 4th down, this nigga Thielen has to put cock in the gene and make a spectacular catch for us to even have the opportunity for XL to ejaculate. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, he was a rookie, but nigga, at the same time, if I throw you a fucking down, honestly, Bryce, I commend Bryce, and I respect the nigga for even throwing to the bitch for the rest of the season. Because he would have been fucking done. Or a nigga like me, he would have been fucking done.
Yeah, okay. Who else were you going to throw to?
Old man Thielen.
When he down for
Jalen Coker. Jalen Coker. He was back at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, this was later on in the season. Nevertheless, great debate. I personally don't know. I don't think that I'm just jumping out the window. If you want to talk about accolades and everything, sure, Jalen Hurts. But I don't know if there's anything, when I turn on the film, I don't know if there's anything that Jalen Hurts undoubtedly does better than Bryce.
So are you saying Bryce is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts?
I'm saying it's TBD. I'm saying it's TBD.
So
I think this would be a great, phenomenal matter of fact, week 8 discussion to open the pod up. No matter if you win or lose, but we go back and look at the production of what they're doing this year, especially with the tools that Panthers has retooled with. Yeah. Go back and look at this, how the audience go back and look. What we said here, fast forward to week 8, go look at the numbers, go look at the wins, go look at the production, go look at the lost games, the won games, and just do a fair comparison for 2025 season.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm still waiting on an answer on what the fuck Jalen Hurts does better than Bryce Young. That I can watch on film.
So why don't you just say Bryce is better than him? Well, I don't understand why you're playing the fence.
With my whole chest that Bryce Young is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, exactly. That's
why I'm gonna say it with my whole chest, and we're gonna come back to this conversation at the end of this year, and everybody else on this fucking cast will say it with their whole chest as well. I guarantee you that.
That's why I'm taking whatever he says with a grain of salt.
Cool. I guarantee you, y'all will be saying the same thing.
Somebody got to answer the phone. Somebody that's going to be a lot more.
You have another
Panthers.
Eagles fan?
No. This is actually a Panthers fan, but this is a very, very objective Panthers fan. I can't get no answers. Today.
I don't fuck with you, man.
I guess not. Nigga, I don't care, nigga. We got content to make. Fuck dinner.
I don't need that shit ringing so loud in my ear for niggas to just not pick it up.
Hey, don't say shit incriminating. You are on live, all for Panthers fans only. I have a very quick question, and I'm going to preface it, okay? Take accolades away. Take accolades away, okay?
Okay.
Who is a better overall quarterback, Jalen Hurts or Bryce Young?
I mean, off of film, Jalen.
Why?
Realistically, just based off the film I have, with or without accolades.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted.
Okay.
Now, who's the better quarterback, Lamar or Bryce?
All right, I'm hanging up.
All right, cool. I don't know. It's a good debate. It's a good question. Because, I mean, no matter whoever we pass the mic to, whoever we call, it's a pause.
Oh, yeah.
There's an extended pause.
They have to think.
There's an extended pause. That's all I'm going to say.
And you won't be smirking like that.
So what are you trying to say that I just didn't have like?
No,
like,
no, I'm just
I feel
saying.
like niggas are trying to paint some kind of narrative.
No, we're not
and that-
painting the
sorry. Yeah,
What were you going to say?
yeah. I can't say it. But yeah,
You just won't be smirking like that by the end of the season. I promise you. And then you know what? Don't get the fucking dick sucking when Bryce starts
well, you know
cooking
he's
this
gonna
year.
do that.
When
You know
Bryce
he-
starts fucking cooking this year,
you know he's
I
gonna do
don't want
that.
you. I don't want you talking to Tory and Chase and none of them talking about some. Oh, Bryce better. Bryce this. Bryce
look
that.
at the narrative that he's trying to paint. Like I haven't always been a Bryce fan. Now when Bryce gets to cooking, don't be on him. Like, come on, you sound stupid as fuck. Move around, boy.
No, like I said, don't get the dick sucking halfway through the season
Sound
when
dumb.
he start cooking.
He going to do that for sure. But, I mean, we all deserve to do it. We all deserve to do it. For whatever it's worth. Because I think that you brought this up. I think you brought this up last week when we were discussing Bryce Young and we were talking about how he'll always be attached to C.J. Stroud. And, of course, our content manager, Dylan, made a little ripple in the NFL community this past week on Twitter. Just talking about how niggas aren't. Well, he didn't say niggas. Let me say that. How people aren't mature enough to have the conversation about the last 10 games that we were just referencing from Bryce Young. This is a side-by-side comparison from C.J. Stroud's last 10 games and Bryce Young's last 10 games. If you're still on that whole thing, this nigga Carter's back there dying. 319 attempts for Bryce, 318 for C.J. Stroud, 2,335 total yards for Bryce, 2,274 for C.J., 20 total touchdowns, 9 total touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 8 interceptions, 22 sacks, 36 sacks, yards per attempt, 5.84, 4.62, and I don't know what the fuck FP per game means. I don't know what FPG means. What is FP per game? I don't know what that means. But 18.8 to 12.5. Long story short, and this nigga Bryce outperformed C.J. Stroud in every category the last 10 games when he returned. So,
I mean, you need to be telling that to yourself the way you were sucking CJ off.
I never sucked C.J. off. I never sucked C.J.
Pull
off.
the clip, pull the clip,
I never
pull the
sucked him
clip,
off on
pull
this
the clip.
podcast. I never did.
Pull the clip, pull the
Just-
clip.
Just,
The only reason the narrative was even brought up is because of you. Because you said that at the very, very start of when we drafted Bryce, that unfortunately he will always be attached to C.J. Stroud.
that is
because
a fact. That's not a narrative. That is a fact. That is a fact. No matter how much time passes, up until one of them retires, they will always be connected.
Well, I'm just saying this graphic is for you.